this recipe, not the whole recipe. So 7 ounces of the canned black beans, chicken stock. You've got onion dice. Everybody remember how to dice an onion?
Yes.
Anybody need to see that again?
No.
All right, very good. So you're going to combine your beans and your stock and bring that to a boil. You're going to add the remaining ingredients and simmer for 10 minutes. I personally would saute my onions first. I would saute my onions, get them to the translucent stage, then put them in. I think you're going to get better flavor and they're going to be a little bit softer and easier because this will be a puree in the end, okay? The beans do get drained, but you want to reserve the cooking liquid. Chill the beans and the liquid puree in a food processor. Okay, so we have either a food processor that we could use to puree this. We have a stick blender, a burr mixer, right, that you put into your pot, which ours is actually too, for the amount that you're doing, I don't even recommend it. You have such a small amount. So you could use a blender or a food processor to puree this. The blender is going to get a much smoother texture than the food processor because it just emulsifies. It kind of gets that tunnel going in there. So there'll be a difference in your texture. It's completely up to you. Whatever you want to do is totally fine with me. This does have some fresh tomato diced in there, a little bit of cilantro. When you're working with cilantro, so cilantro looks very similar to parsley. So you want to be careful that you're making sure that you're getting the right thing. The cilantro leaves tend to be a little rounder. See how these are kind of round? Do we have any Italian parsley out here today? And the Italian parsley usually are a little bit more pointy. The cool thing about cilantro is that the entire plant is edible and utilized. The stems have great flavor, the leaves have great flavor, the roots have great flavor, and so do the seeds, coriander seeds.
Yes.
So that's the one unique thing about the cilantro. You don't have to worry so much about getting all the leaves off the stem. As long as the stem is not woody or tough, you can incorporate the stem in as well. There's a lot of good flavor in there, okay? So that is that. Black bean spread, pretty simple. You do want to make that ahead. You want to make that first so that you can get it chilled. Because as it chills, it'll solidify and make it easier to spread onto your, and if everything is nice and cold when this gets wrapped up, it's going to be easier to get it nice and tight as well. What's going on here today?
I'm taking pictures for
Movie star.
Selfies.
Oh, right, good, excellent. I'm glad you're doing that. That's fantastic. Okay, it's just like I've got all these cameras pointed at me right now. It's kind of weird. I wasn't used to that.
Get used to.
Yeah. Okay. For the ingredients that are going to go into the interior of your sandwich, it is going to be important that you get everything sliced really uniformly and thin. Because when you're building a wrap, it can be really bulky if you don't have some really nice good cuts. So let's practice your knife skills. We have a boneless, skinless chicken breast, and you're going to season that and then grill it. I would like to see you get the grill marks on it, right? We've done grill marks in here before, yeah?
Yes.
So I don't need to demonstrate that again. But I would like to see that. You might, I understand, it's gonna get sliced and put in your sandwich, but it's a learning opportunity. It gives you an opportunity to practice,
The
you know.
2-10 clock, what is it?
2 and 10, 2 and 10,
Yeah.
or 10 and 2, however. Okay, so that goes on. Peel the avocados and cut into nice thin slices. With avocados, they oxidize. So you want to keep your avocados whole until you're just about ready to assemble. I would not do that in advance because they turn, black really quickly. So keep those whole until you're ready. Then we've got bell pepper, and you need to julienne that, and julienne your onion, and then dice your tomato. The easiest way to julienne your peppers, I like to use a serrated knife on my peppers because the skin is pretty tough. But see how you just cut off either end and then flatten it out. And that way I'm able to get nice thin julienne. And what am I going to do with these? Am I going to throw these in the trash?
No.
We're going to save these. We're going to save these. It would actually, you could roast them and incorporate them into your black bean. If you wanted a little red pepper, you can make a little red pepper aioli, roast them and puree them into your mayonnaise, and maybe you want a little bit of that on the side of your plate. That would make a cool, put it in a squeeze bottle, make a cool little garnish on your plate. Do not throw your scraps away. Try to utilize them. This is going to set you apart in your interviewing process if you do little things like this, because they're going to be watching you the whole time. If you do little things like this, they're gonna go, oh, check her out or him out. You know, he's saving us money. Even if I were just to brunoise and use this as a garnish to sprinkle around my plate, at least I utilized it, okay? So don't throw any of that away. Now this is trash.
Somebody's following you around during your interview or your cooking?
They don't follow you around, but they're watching. You know, not every step, so something might get missed. Kind of like in here, you know what I mean? They're running a kitchen, although they don't have 25, you know, they have 6. Beautiful thing. 25 is a lot. Okay, nice, thin julienne. At this point, I think I'm gonna switch over to my nice sharps, but practice your knife skills. Get everything really nice, sharp, and uniform, okay? Another thing they watch is to make sure that you're clean and neat and you're cleaning as you go. Julienne, an onion. Have we seen that? Anybody need to see a julienne of an onion?
Nope.
Nope, okay. Then I expect them to be perfect. Okay. When it comes time, and then cheddar, this is cheddar cheese. We've just cryovacked it. We'll see what happens with this when we, I don't know. It got cryovacked a little tight. I'm not sure if that's going to turn out or not. We might have to re-rate that. We'll see what happens. Jalapeno. So you've got some minced jalapeno. When you're working with jalapenos, the heat of the jalapeno is in the seeds and in the membrane. So that's where all the heat is. What I like to do is I like to cut it out nice and clean, and then I like to save it because if I like it spicy myself, I like there to be a lot of flavor. So I'm going to save that because if this is not that hot, then I want to incorporate a little bit of that, you know, mince some of those seeds and put it in, so you can decide. But if you are sensitive, some people are really sensitive to jalapenos. You want to be really careful when you might want to wear gloves if you're sensitive. Like I have done this before, like I scratched my nose after cutting a case of these things, and then your nose is on fire for like the next 3 days. Yeah. So be careful, okay, with the jalapenos. But you can control the heat by saving that, and then you can add a little bit more if you like it hot. When it comes time to roll this, we have nice, large, 12-inch tortillas. So you're going to spread and then layer. I would do it in strips, like all my pepper, all my onion, all my chicken, so kind of give that you know, color wheel effect. And then I'm going to help you roll it up. It's hard to demonstrate without all the stuffing in there, but you need to get it nice and tight. With this, as long as you have, the spread does not need to go to the edge because it's all going to kind of move. So I would put the spread just inside your circle, and then as you get everything on and start spreading, it will move a little bit, but nice and tight. If you can get a really nice tight roll on this, then you can get a really cool presentation going as well. Okay? This is cold. Yep. Grilled chicken is the cold. All right, so that's that one. We got through one. Will you hand me that recipe for the egg salad? Okay, egg salad. How do I cook my hard-boiled eggs in order to not have that ugly sulfur green ring around my yolk? How do I do that?
10 minutes?
Say?
10 minutes?
No, you let them boil first, and then
The water.
turn the fire off, and then put a lid and leave it there for 10 to 15
Yes.
minutes.
Perfect. And then we stop the cooking at that
Yeah.
point into an
Yes.
ice bath.
Yes.
So put my eggs in a pot, cover them with cold water, bring it up to a boil, put a lid on it, turn off the heat, let it sit 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, slide them into an ice bath, and hopefully you don't have that ugly green sulfur ring that for an overcooked egg. That's exactly what it means, is an overcooked egg. So you're going to want to get that, and then you can use your mayonnaise in here, so it's going to be extra good. Green onions or scallions are different than chives. So here's our green onion or our scallion. It's a little slimy.
Are we having the two?
And chives. Thank you. It's not very slimy. The flavor in the green onion is it gets a little bit stronger as you get to this white root in. You're going to remove that. And there's a few, I would like to see you again practicing your good knife skills. If you're going to use these for garnish, let's do on the bias. Nice sharp knife, and we get a pretty cut on a bias, okay? This is how you tell if you have a sharp knife, is by cutting up some green onions or some chives. I'm sure you've done this before where you cut, and you got the whole thing done and you pick it up and it's all still stuck together. That means your knife's not sharp. So these chives are a good way. So chives are just so much smaller in diameter, right? Little bit different flavor. They're from the same family. But it's important for you to know what the difference is because this is something that's going to be on your test, okay?
Chef, is that completely different plant, the chives versus this guy?
Yeah, they're in the same family, but they are different plants, yeah.
They all
Uh-huh.
have different things.
Yep. So there's our chives and there's our green onions, just depending on what you want to do with it. And then this is going to go into a tea sandwich. You're going to get this seasoned nicely. Smoked salmon, fresh dill. Can I see the dill? I love the dill. Dill's so good. Dill is beautiful, isn't it? Nice and feathery. You do want to remove it from this stem and then chop that and incorporate it. It has a really fresh kind of spring lemony flavor to it. Pretty easy on the
Sweet.
palate. A little bit on the sweet side, sure. So that's going to be incorporated too. Now, or when you're assembling your sandwiches, so we have just regular old white bread. And if I was making this for, a tea for 500 people, I would lay out all my bread, right, onto a sheet pan, and then I would have a disher, a scooper in the right size, and dish my egg salad. And then top with my smoked salmon, and then the other bread goes on. But if you get this assembly line working with two hands, you're going to build some speed and efficiency within, and I know it's hard to do when you're making two sandwiches, but I want you to be thinking about that so that you can be efficient. Once you get these together, you want this to squeeze all the way to the edge. Once you get this together, for tea sandwiches, if they're going to be served the same day, great. If you need to serve them the next day, what I would do at this point is cover them with a damp paper towel, cater wrap them. That means wrap them really securely in saran wrap, and then you can put them in the refrigerator. They do need to set a little bit like that in order for you to get really nice clean cuts, okay? Ideally, you want them to be completely level, like the edges should not be caved on each side. You want it to be completely level. Once they're chilled for a little bit and they've had a chance to set a little bit, then you're going to take your serrated knife and you're going to remove the crust. Ideally, when I remove the crust, and I'm going to clean my knife in between each cut, okay, so that I don't get the smear of the mayonnaise, of the whatever, so it's super clean. And ideally, I see my layers. So you can see the bread, you can see the smoked salmon, you can see the egg salad, and you can just clearly see those layers. And this is where having good knife skills is really going to count, because it's going to be really obvious if if they're cut crooked at all. And then on the edges, to finish it, you can take pieces of herbs and kind of stick these into the edges as a garnish, and you can maybe stand them up on their side. Anyway, once we get one done, I'll come get me and I'll show you the first one so that you have a better understanding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's the egg salad. This one, blackened steak. So we said we were going to make our seasoning. We adjusted this recipe according to what we need. We only have two. Well, no. Okay, there it is. Okay. So we need to share these. So you do need to stick to the recipe. It's a 10-ounce steak, so you're getting 5 ounces each. Okay. So half of a steak per person per table. Now these are going to be served. It's a little bit different than what the recipe says. I want to see these open face on a baguette. So for the baguette, what you want to do is you want to, using a serrated knife, because we're cutting bread, you are going to cut it on a diagonal. We'll remove the saran wrap. But if you cut it on a bias, then you have a nice platform. Making sure that it's nice and even. They should all be uniform cuts. And then these can be seasoned, a little bit of oil, salt and pepper, toasted up, either using a salamander. I would probably use the salamander. That's going to be the fastest, easiest. And you only really need to toast up one side. You don't want it too crunchy, because usually a canapé that's something like this served on a piece of bread is something that's going to be served while your guests are standing up. So you need to be conscious of the fact that when they bite into it, crumbs don't all fall out all over their lovely dress, The meat is cut thin enough to where when they bite into it, it comes apart. It's not so thick that they're kind of fighting with it to get it apart. You have to think in those terms when you're serving canapes. That's really important. So get those done, and then on top of that is going to go your, we've got some greens. You'll just need a little bit. Definitely you want to season these. I would get my, kind of like a little salad. Cut this small because it's going to go onto a small vessel. Make sure you season it with a little bit of, this has red onions. Actually, it would not be a bad idea to caramelize these onions. It's not in the recipe, but if you julienne these and caramelize them, that would be a lovely bed onto my crostini. Then my greens, a little bit of olive oil, maybe just a dash of lemon juice, salt and pepper. Then that goes on top of that. Then I've got my steak that is blackened, and ideally this is served rare. So I hope, I don't know, it's up, you guys can do it however you want it, but ideally you would want it nice and rare. Now, you're gonna sear it. Cast iron is gonna be the best choice for a blackened steak. So you want your cast iron nice and hot. I would use a clarified butter because that adds another flavor, profile. It's gonna make it taste really good when it's cooked in clarified butter. And then to get that nice and hot, and then just sear. These are how thick? They're about an inch thick. Maybe 2 minutes, and then take it off and let it cool. Let it rest. Do not immediately start slicing through it, because if you immediately start slicing through it, all the juices are gonna run out. That's where all the tenderness is. Let it cool, and then you just slice it really nice and thin right before you're ready to assemble, and those will get laid out on top. And then I would probably brunoise this. So let me show you how you can brunoise a tomato. A couple different ways you could do it. You can just go through and kind of peel it like that. And then because my knife is so nice and sharp, it's really easy to get through this tough layer of the tomato skin. If your knife is not super sharp, you might want to, you could turn it over or just sharpen it. That's always a good option, just sharpen it, right? So let's practice that for garnish on top, and then make sure that every element is seasoned, okay? So you should have enough of a kick here in your blackened spice. So any questions on the open face? So I'm not gonna see any blackened steak sandwiches, right? Okay, good. Maybe, I know, I probably will. Okay, grilled vegetable sandwich. So this is supposed to be a hot sandwich, so we need to get all of our mise en place ready, and then the last thing we're gonna do is grill our vegetables and then immediately assemble. So you have to be thinking in those terms. The eggplant, so we've got eggplant here, and eggplant can sometimes be a little bit bitter. And what causes the bitterness is the seeds in the eggplant. And so traditionally, the larger the eggplant, the more seeds you're gonna have in it. Because sometimes you get those little Japanese ones, and those aren't very bitter at all. So to remove the bitterness, what you do, and you could cut this too, there's two ways you can do this. You can do this into rounds, just like that. Or you can cut them into planks. Either way, you guys can decide how you want to do it. Here, I want to expose the seeds so you can see. So see here, now we can see some seeds. See the seeds in here? Actually, there's really not that many. But in order to remove the bitterness of the seeds, what you'll do is you're going to cut these, lay them out, and sprinkle them with salt. And the salt will help extract the bitterness from your eggplant. But you have to be careful because you do need to wash that salt off. Otherwise, it's going to be a super salty element in there. And then let it dry. You can lightly brush them with a little bit of oil. Add maybe just a little bit of pepper. I would not add any more salt because you've already soaked it with salt trying to remove that bitterness. And then let's practice getting some nice grill marks on our grill. Now when I'm working on my grill, you're gonna have quite a few vegetables on your grill. So you're gonna have your eggplant, you can slice it into planks or rounds, either way. The rest of the vegetables, I think I would slice into planks, okay? Kind of like that. You do want them to leave them a little bit on the thick side because they are going to, as they cook, they're gonna lose moisture and they're gonna shrink up. And you do wanna be able to get a little color on the grill onto your vegetable. And so if If they're cut too thin, you won't be able to get any color at all because they'll be done before you get a chance to get any color onto them. So what I would like to see you do is in your grilling, you lay all your stuff out. You need to think about your whole grill, and you want to start, I like to start in the top left corner, kind of like you read a book, you know, and go across my grill. Now there's going to be hot spots, so some of the items will be ready to turn, but if you kind of keep it organized and don't get too much onto the grill so you don't feel overwhelmed, like, oh my God, that one's burning over there, and oh my God, and then all of a sudden your grill is this big, huge mess. Try to keep it organized so you start and you go across, and then to the next level. You know, just kind of like reading a book. Go to the next sentence and down. Keep it organized. When these are done, you're going to cook them on both sides. When they're done, you're going to remove them and you're going to put them onto a sheet pan that is lined with parchment paper, and you're going to lay them out flat. You do not want to stack all your vegetables up. Don't just like throw them into a bowl. If you do that, what happens is they continue to cook. They're hot, they hold that heat, and then they wind up making all the rest of your vegetables super soggy. So make sure you lay them out so that they don't get overcooked. You do want them to have a little bit of a bite to them in your sandwich. And then you need to be ready to immediately begin assembling your sandwich. Obviously your greens will not be grilled, but the pepper, the eggplant, the squash, we got 2 types of squash, and you could do the onions grilled too. Also, will be good. Okay? So any questions on that?
An eggplant question.
Yes.
Is it the seeds in the eggplant that are bitter, or because it has seeds, they're
The
bitter?
seeds are bitter. Yeah.
Cut just those out.
I don't think it would be that easy because look at how like they're really stuck in there. You know what I mean? It's not like the seed in a lemon where you can clearly just see it and get it out. So honestly, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Again, it kind of depends on your eggplant. All of them are not going to be exactly the same like any of your vegetables. They're all going to be just a little bit different. Okay, did I get to everything?
Yes.
Yes? All right. You guys are feeling confident?
Yes.
All right. Let's do it.